Hello, thank you for purchasing the Zippo lighter case V1. Today we're going to be talking about how I put it together, steps I take, and the variations that are very easy to put on this and make it more your own. To start off with, we're going to discuss tools, what you'll be needing for the way that I do this. And to start off with, you will be needing a zippo. And the one that we're going to be making today is this one right here. That's a little blurry. It is just made out of some regular old natural veg tan. So you'll be needing a zippo. You'll be needing 2 needles, some thread, a straight edge, some tape. I use this stuff when I'm doing natural veg tan. If I'm doing any sort of oil tan, or even just some more, even if it is a veg tan, if it's a dyed veg tan, I use masking tape or painter's tape. But it just needs to be tape that you can see through to the pattern. We are using a Craft Tool Pro rotary punch. We'll be using 2 settings on this. We're going to be using number 1 and number 3. And we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. You will also be needing a way to cut your leather. I prefer a X-Acto knife. This is a number 2 blade on here. I like the number 2s just for the flexibility of it. One drawback that I do find is my tips break off sometimes. It might be because I'm just a little heavy-handed. Maybe I need to invest in some better cutting mats. But that's what I use. And then we'll be talking about these variations a little bit later on. We'll get some better close-up shots of those later. Tweezers and something to apply the edge coat. At least this is how I do it. And then I'm using a Craft Tool Pro number 16 1/2-inch hole punch. Let's go this way. This is something that can be opted out of, and I'll explain that more here in a little bit. So if you don't have one of these, it's not that big of a deal. And obviously some leather. So let's get right down to it. When you download the pattern, this is what you're going to receive right here. This part right here is the pattern. You're going to just cut that out. You don't need to be right on the line or anything like that. That's all going to happen a little bit later. And I just want to talk about the patterns that I do provide. Whatever you make, go ahead and sell. I'm not going to sit here and police what you do with the physical product that you make. The only thing that I have a copyright to, in my opinion, is this pattern itself. I will only be downloading or uploading PDF patterns. I will never upload anything that can work in a laser cutter or a file that you could just easily send off and get a die made for it. If you did buy this and you did print it at 100%, and it'll print out right every time. The way that you can check that is by making sure that this is a square of 2 inches by 2 inches. So we need to be 2 inches by 2 inches. And that's about that. So once you have your pattern all cut out, you're going to end up with something like that. At this step, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to tape this to your leather, just like that. And now comes time to punch the holes. So again, we're going to be using, I'm using the Craft Tool Pro rotary hole punch, and I use the number 1 and the number 3. The number 3 only gets used for two holes. It only gets used for this hole and this hole, and that's where I like to start. So you just go ahead and see if I can get this in focus, and click it down until it's at number 3. So then you're just going to punch those out and try to line it up with that black line there as best as you can. Punch it out, give it a little twist. Punch it out, give it a little twist. And you end up with 2 holes. Now, go ahead and we switch all the way back over to the number 1. It just happens to be the very smallest one. And when you're punching out these holes, you're not only punching out all of these holes right here. You are punching out all those holes, but you're punching out a little bit more as well. You're also punching the inside of this radius right here. So anything outside of the gray portion of the pattern. You want to get nice and close to that line, and what that does is it gives it a little bit of strength and rigidity rather than having just a straight corner there, which could be like a easy tear point. Gives you, keeps it with that nice radius. If you don't want to punch the holes and you think you can hand cut those radiuses, feel free. For me, it's just I'm already punching around. It's easy enough. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So what I do is just come in here, line it up best I can, and punch it out. So you get a hole right there in that corner. Once you get everything cut out, I'm sorry, not cut out, punched out, where I like to start is with the corners here. And we're going to cut those out, and how I do that, I'll just do the corners freehand. So I just come in here and I line up my knife right there. I push down and into that hole, and then I just pull straight back, trying to keep as much on that black line as I can. Turn it 90 degrees, and cut straight back. Should come right off. For these ones right here, these ones are a little bit different. Not really different, but a little nuanced, I guess. So punch in, pull straight back, punch in, pull straight back. When you come to this section though, just so that you don't cut into the leather, we like to punch in, pull straight back, stop about halfway or a little past, flip it 180 degrees, punch in, pull straight back, flick out. Just like that. Now again, I'm not going to have you sit here and watch me cut this whole thing, but one thing I do want to touch on is this line right here. You are going to cut this line all the way across. Even though there is no line in the center here, you're going to cut all the way across. So from the outside of the pattern all the way to the outside of the pattern. And the order that I do this is after I get all these corners cut out, I cut this line, and then I cut these 4 lines here, then I cut these 2 lines. The reason I leave these 2 lines for last is just so that it's not opening and closing and stuff while I'm trying to cut. But like I said, I already have one cut out, and it is right here. So this is what you're going to end up with. You're going to end up with 2 separate pieces. You'll have your holes cut, your holes punched, everything like that. But now we need to make room for the hinge. And make room for this spot right here. And the way we do that, the way I do that, is with my Craft Tool Pro 1/2 inch punch. I like the nice rounded look, but it's strictly aesthetics. If you want to take a straight edge and just cut right along those holes, the reason that hole is that big is because that is the size of the hinge. So if you just want to take a straight edge and cut right along the top of that hole there, feel free, it'll still work just the same. I just like the rounded look. But how I go about doing this bit is I just come in and just to get the aesthetic that I'm looking for, I go a little bit above the holes, try to center it as best I can, just punch down, and it comes right out. And then you end up with a nice little crescent moon shape. And then I do that to the other side, like that. And that's it. We are done cutting. All of our cuts are made. There's nothing else to cut. So now I want to talk about how we finish the edges. This is made for an edge dye or an edge paint. It's not designed to burnish, and the reason I did that is so that when it closes, it's flush all the way across. Oh, I'm not even in camera. The reason I did that is so that when it closes, it's flush all the way across. I personally didn't want a rounded edge meeting a rounded edge right here. Now, you can burnish this. It's absolutely possible. But when you do, when you're cutting this pattern, give yourself a little leeway. Cut a little outside of this line, and then that'll allow those fibers to compress. And you'll still come out and then you'll still come out the same. But that being said, I use edge coat on mine. Works out nicely. Everything is nice and tidy. I dye most of mine. I do sell the natural veg tan ones just for people that want to paint them or whatever, but I like to dye mine. So next step would be doing the edge coat. Now I'm not going to get super in depth on how to do this. There's 100 videos out there on how to put on edge coat. My specific method of doing it is I use a tweezers, and I use some sort of packing foam. Just kind of, I like the crunchy stuff, I guess, but I just fold it over and I pinch it between my tweezers. That gives me a very nice, firm but still giving thing to push onto it. And then I'm just using Phoebe's Edge Coat, black. You know, you can pick this up at Tandy for I think $5-6, something like that. Nothing crazy. You just go ahead and dip it in. And the way I do this is I lean the good side of the leather kind of like that, so that if I do make any mistakes, they will all be on the back side. And just like that, you have a nice black edge. And you can go all the way around this. You can skip these, only do the parts that's going to be touching. Whatever you want to do. World's your oyster. Why not? So the next step would be sewing. And what I like to do is a baseball stitch. And if you haven't done a baseball stitch, I'm not going to go super in depth into how to do a baseball stitch. Again, there's 100 different videos online about how to do a baseball stitch, but I will show you kind of the methodology that I use. So, you're going to need some thread. And by the way, I'm using 2.5 to 3 ounce leather. It's just some sheepskin. Again, I picked it up at Tandy. I think it was $50 for a whole side. Not too expensive by any means, and you can actually get quite a bit out of it. Need needle on either side of your thread. This is very, very close to just tying your shoes. There's nothing really complex about this. It looks good. I enjoy the look of it. But one little nuance that you do need to take into consideration. So the way that this goes, if you see those little arrows there, the way that it's kind of arrowed, I suppose, this way. Where's the pointy thing? There we go. So if you look, it's kind of kind of arrowed one way, and it's pointing to the direction that you start in. So I've started the stitch here and ended the stitch here. On this one I started the stitch here and I ended the stitch here. And I like that aesthetic. I like the fact that all of my arrows on my top part point in the same direction. All the arrows on my bottom part point in the opposite direction. So if you want all your arrows pointing in one direction the full way around, just take into consideration where you're going to be starting your stitch at. Yep. Alright, so now let's get into the stitch. So this is where having a zippo when you do this is very, very helpful. You are going to want to fold down your edges. Right. So you put one needle in there, and then you put one needle in there. Both should be going downward, and then you pull top through, and then with this thread right here that I'm tugging on, cross over the top right there and down and through, and then take this guy, cross over the top to that hole, and then down and through. I should have like a line and an X. And then take your lighter, put it where it goes, wrap it around, and pull tight. Just kind of push that up with your finger there. Pull tight, like that. And then it is literally just a matter of lacing tennis shoes. So the correct hole, over and out, come over and out. And about every 1 to 2 stitches, give it a good tug, and that'll kind of tighten things up. You know, and you can always make sure that it's good and aligned, kind of like that. But I'm not going to sit here and sew an entire thing on camera. This video would be 4 hours long. Not really. This whole project takes about a half an hour. But I have one already sewn. Already sewn and already edge coated. So I just wanted to show you how this works. So you have your 2 pieces. Obviously the little one goes on the bottom. Look for your half moon. And when you put this on, it should kind of stretch a bit. And when it's going on, it should give you a nice snug fit. And what you're looking for with that nice snug fit is when you open the lighter, you want the very face or the very edge of this to be flush with the lighter case. And if it's not quite flush, a trick that you can do is to get these edges wet and use a bone folder or something just to kind of push them down and over, or just give it a good tug, and it usually stays pretty well. And then you're looking for the exact same thing on the bottom. Just bring it up. Again, you notice it's kind of stretching over like that, and then you will end up with a nice tight fit. This one I kind of edge coated after the fact, so it's got a little messier than it should have. But yeah, and then you end up with a nice tight fitting lighter case. And it is tight. Like, you can do whatever little lighter tricks you do, and it stays on. Stays on all day. Yeah, so that was that. Yeah, nice little Zippo case. The reason I like this one so much more than some of the other ones is it doesn't have that fringe all the way around. Yeah. But you can do tooling on it, you can dye it, you can do whatever you want, stamp it, however you want to do it, make it yours, man. I did want to talk about this guy. I don't know if you can see that really well. Let me hold on a minute. All right. So this guy we call our Galaxy lighter case, just because of the coloring on it. It's got like some teals and some blues and some reds and a little bit of purples. It's actually a super easy dye job to do. I did it with Kool-Aid. If you want a video explaining that, just let me know in the comments below. Catch me on Facebook, whatever you need. But yeah, we will be giving this away as soon as we hit 150 subscribers. I'm not going to set a time limit or anything like that. I clearly know how kind of cringy this video is putting it together, but I'm learning as I go here. But yeah, if you like this lighter, we will be giving it away as soon as we hit 150 subscribers. Probably not this exact one. I'll probably make one specifically just because I've used this myself. So I've had dirty hands and stuff touching all over, and I don't want to give you one that's been already in and out of pockets. So I'll make another one very similar to this, same coloring, everything. Yeah, and we'll be giving that away once we hit 150 subscribers. So like, subscribe, share. Yeah. We should have more stuff coming up, and I will hopefully see you guys on the next one. Thanks.